What's up, good people? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder, coming to you for another episode of Brand New Development Series. And y'all know what we do. What we do here is we bring you some of the countries, I say the countries and just all over, great entrepreneurs, business owners, speakers, those who have a great impact in how we do business, but then also how we deal with our personal life and as well, because it's important for us to have that work-life balance, but then also how do we use the tools that we have in business, in our homes, and then how do we use the tools that we have in our home, being a leader in our home, in our business, and how do they connect with each other along with separating them from each other, because we don't want to, we're going to be careful not to bring our business home, and then we also don't want to, we want to be careful not to bring our home into our business and how important that is. But for today's episode, I have an outstanding young man that I want to get right into this conversation because I so enjoy talking with him about the things that we had conversations about having to do with business and the other aspects of our lives that we deal with and that we do. He is someone that I truly appreciate, someone that I truly admire for what he has done, not just in the business world, but with I see him as an outstanding Black man, and I'm gonna say it just like that, an outstanding Black man, what he does for the community, what he stands for, and all of those things. So I want to thank him for coming on to the show, because I know he's very, very busy. Trust me, this man is doing it and doing it and doing it well. From different aspects of life. So I'm appreciative of him joining us. And this is none other than Mr. Michael Haynie, Sr. Mr. Haynie, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Dr. McKenzie, and thank you so much for asking me to be on your show, man. I don't take anything for granted, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight, man. So thank you so much for asking me.
No, I just appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, and it's a busy schedule, but I appreciate you taking time to come and talk with us, to be able to pour into the audience, the listening audience, and especially from an entrepreneur perspective, and the things that we're going to get into this evening that we're going to be talking about that I think are so vital when it comes to entrepreneurs, when it comes to businesses in the 21st century and being successful. You know, what are we doing as leaders to make sure that our businesses are successful? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And before I go, I definitely want to mention that the brand new development series is brought to you by J&F Enterprises and the Black Professional Men, whose mission is to ensure the future of the African American male. And we do that by bringing you great people, great individuals that are invested in the community. They're invested in being for the community, and they're invested in making the community better. So I really want to appreciate that. Now, Brother Haynie, I'd like to start off, how I usually start off is just by having you introduce yourself to people. Tell them a little bit about who Michael Haynie Sr. is and what you do.
Hey, I appreciate that question, Dr. McKenzie. And I always tell people that what I am, I'm a human being. You know, I'm a human being that works in the hospitable industry, or tourism industry. And I enjoy working with people, and I am a servant, you know, I am a servant leader. And as we get into the interview further, I'll explain what that means, particularly as it means related to business and how that concept has been vital and instrumental to me. But also, I'm also a dad of 5 children. I've got 10 grandchildren and a very beautiful blended family. I've got one that was just born this morning, and what a blessing and the grace of God that I'm flying to Nebraska to see first thing in the morning, and then I've got one due in a week. So being responsible for all that surrounds me makes me, when you ask me who I am, I am who I am in terms of the responsibilities that I'm committed to, in addition to the professional aspects of my life, which center around hotels and workforce development training. And I serve on so many boards. I think some people think that's a full-time job as well. But that's just a part of what you do when you're in our situation, and you're entrusted to give back. You're entrusted to give back to the community. That's part of an entrepreneurial landscape, is to give back. So
I want to, before we get into our other conversation, you just mentioned something really that I wanted to hone in on. I know that you talked about your family life, and you talked about being very busy, where you have your own company that you have, but then also being on several boards. I want you to start off, if you can, by just talking a little bit about how do you balance? How do you have that work-life balance, and how important is that to you?
oh, it's extremely important, and sometimes it's hard to compartmentalize it.
Mm,
But there's a mental health aspect that allows me to go sometimes 20 hours a day if I want to. It's all about, frame of mind and being comfortable with where I'm at. It's a matter of what it is I'm chasing and if it's worthy of that sort of energy. So I'm very careful about my wants and needs, first of all, so that I ensure that there's an emotional, mental health balance that could allow me to go 7, 8 straight days, man, of doing
wow.
what it is I have to do, as
Mhm.
long as from a mental perspective, I'm in a good place.
Right.
Meaning that, I can't be overwhelmed and not see the priority of potentially family issues or health issues, and at the same time deal with work-related issues. Everything has its place, everything in accordance to time. So as you mentioned, I serve on a number of boards. I said this year I was going to retire and reduce it to just a couple, and
Mhm.
5 more asked. And just as my friend said, you never say no, because the thing that I'm grateful for is just like being here tonight, that people, in my situation, I'm honored when people ask and people feel as though I have something to contribute. And
Mhm.
so, to me, God never gives you more than you can handle, particularly when you have everything balanced.
Mhm.
I know I'm not going to be a millionaire, so I'm not looking to, gain a million, if that's a goal. But I know that being comfortable as I am, with my life, that's it, man. So there's no pressure. There's no pressure to overexert myself in a work-related aspect. To my giving aspect can't be something that I continue to do and serve others as well, because there's a correlation. There's a correlation there from a spiritual perspective that I've found out, that you can only keep what you have by giving it away, time, talent, and treasure. So some people try to gain the world, and you've heard the old saying, lose their soul, and so, I'm particularly enamored with young people and taking on board projects that encompass young people, because I think it's just vital.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, is there because I want to stick with this, do you have a specific criteria that you have for consideration of being on certain boards, even though they may ask, is there certain things that they must have, or, like 3 things that they must be doing or have in order for you to be on their board?
Yeah, so for me, Dr. McKenzie, it's important that I'm not being paid and others aren't being paid as board members, and that normally with me it's important that it's a nonprofit. I can also
Mm,
always look to serve on Exelon's board of directors and be a paid board member, et cetera, but that's not what my goal is. And for me, it's important that it is somewhat related to dealing with young people. That's important to me. I serve on a number of university boards that have tourism related programs,
mhm.
because I know the importance of that in ensuring that our industry continues to be represented well by people of color, and that showing them what it is that they need to do or helping prepare them and ensuring that they get, and particularly those institutions get what they need is important. So not being paid is crucial for me. Don't want to be paid. Want to make sure no one else is being paid, making sure that the board itself is set up properly, meaning that they have directors and officers insurance in the event that something happens. I always look to check the books. I want to see what the books are. You know, when boards turn over, I've served as president of a number of boards, Dr. McKenzie, very fortunate. You know, in Baltimore City, particularly, a couple of boards where I can sit there and say I was the first African American or Black to serve on those boards was an honor and a privilege. So there's certain things that I do in assessing my board service to ensure that the board is stable and that it protects those that volunteer and ensure that the board's mission is in alignment with where I am in my life. And there may be a relationship to what I do professionally tied to that, or it does not have to be. You know, it could just be something that is looking to do something for the benefit of people, you know, which is crucial for me.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. And that's interesting. You piqued my interest with you being on several boards, and just what makes a board stand out to you, and everything like that. So that's great. Now, can you tell me what got you started in the hospitality industry, and then more specifically in training?
Hey, well, listen, what got me started in the hospitality industry, and I'll say that to explain, I consider I was in the hotel industry for over 40 years and still in the
Okay.
industry to a degree because I work with partners in the industry. But what got me into the hotel industry, because the hospitality industry, I'm trying to change that, you know, mantra of what hospitality is, because as we talk to your viewers and business people, hospitableness is not necessarily an industry, but a business practice that we all could undertake to ensure, and it is probably paramount that our businesses are successful. So to be hospitable in the financial industry or the healthcare industry or the banking industry, hospitableness isn't necessarily an industry to me. But I got started in the hotel industry over 40 years ago because I needed a job, man. You know, I needed a job. I went to a school in Boston, Massachusetts, Northeastern University that was a cooperative education job. And, you know, the hotel industry was notoriously famous, well, not notoriously famous for the fact that you could be in that business and go from a bellman to running a mega million dollar hotel. But that wasn't the initial reason why I got involved. I got involved because I needed a job. So I had a professor that was teaching, and he talked about how he got into the industry, and he just walked up and asked somebody for a job. So the first thing I did after he finished teaching, I went up and asked him for a job. And so he invited me down to interview, file an application interview, and lo and behold, and this was in Boston, Massachusetts. And fortunately, it was a position that allowed me to see the hotel industry as a whole. And I fell in love, man. It was like just falling in love. I don't know, you've been in love, I'm sure. We all have been in love. And from a work perspective, oh, wow, man, the back of the house, the front of the house, engaging guests, you know, speaking to guests, and always something going on. So I fell in love with the hotel business. And of course, around hotels, there's a abundance of other businesses. Hotels are like little cities, or they used to be. You have a lot of limited service now, but they were like little cities. The hotel that I initially was in was a 3,000 room hotel with 5 restaurants, 3 bars, you know, a multitude of various specialty shops. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
No, that's great. That's great. I love that. I love that because it's what I found when I was in the industry, or when I first learned about it back when I was in college, and I changed my major because I originally wanted to be a doctor. And my major was
You want to
biology.
be a doctor?
Yeah, my freshman
Well,
year.
you are a doctor, aren't you a
No,
doctor? You're not
it's kind of
calling you
ironic that I
doctor?
have that now, but 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 back then when I after my freshman year, and I changed my major from biology, I talked with a couple of friends that were specifically in our hotel restaurant management major at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and they were telling me about this great program and what they were doing. And I mean, and then back in the late 80s, early 90s, our at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, the hospitality industry was in the top 20 of all hospitality. So I was like, well, I need to go, I don't want to find out about more about this hospitality industry, and wound up talking with the dean. And he was, I forgot, oh my, can't believe I forgot his name, but he was a Marriott man. He came from Marriott. So all of that history and everything that Marriott was about, he brought that to our major. And I loved it. I loved his pitch, if you will, and what he told me where the industry was going, where our particular department was going at the time and everything like that. And so I was like, wow, well, I need to, this is something that really piqued my interest. So I was like, okay, that's great. And sure enough, all of the things that I learned there and then took into the industry itself, like you, it just became something that I got attached to. And I was like, wow, this is something that I really, that I could really sink my teeth into and really wanted to go into. So I appreciate you. I can appreciate you saying that it was something that like you said, you were just doing it to get a job, but you kind of think you came to kind of care about it, and to say, wow, this is a career that could be built out of this particular industry. Because there's a lot of folks that this particular industry is no, to me, no one day is the same. You can have be here one day, here the next day, here the next day, and just all over the place. You just never know where it's going to take you. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed about it, but also one of the things that you just kind of have you scratching your head too, behind that too. So I want you, if you could, can you talk about your experience with getting people to understand? Because you said you've been in the industry for 40 years now, so that's a lot of experience that you've had. Can you talk about getting people to understand the importance of training and customer service being taught in this 21st century? Have you noticed the difference in it?
Yeah, sure. Much has changed over 40 years, and Dr. Bolger did a phenomenal job down at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I know Dr. Bolger, who oversaw that program for a number of years. Maybe it came after you left there, but they do a great job. You mentioned brands, and that goes into some training. Marriott's brand. I happen to be trained independent hotels, right? So you had a bit more free flow, like a artist. You were able to do. Marriott had a standard and a book, and I suspect many of our entrepreneurs aren't able to buy Applebee's or be part of M&T Bank or PNC Bank, so they start their own in whatever they do. And so how do they set a standard for their own business versus going into a franchise type business that gives you a playbook? So Marriott gives you a playbook. You start talking about training as an example, and this is how they expect you to act. This is how they expect you to train your employees, et cetera, et cetera. But to your question, the relative and the importance of training in the 21st century is even more paramount now than it was before, because we take a lot for granted. I mean, I think that as it relates to the industry, they're inventing robots that are able to do the job. Now, much of it is to negate the human experience, because humans call in sick, et cetera, but it also is a fiscal opportunity that many businesses see as well, the automation, the technological aspect of it. But people still enjoy frequenting a business, whatever it is, that they're able to successfully engage genuine services, right? So when you talk about training and the importance of training, it's all about ownership. It's all about the commitment with ownership because it's not rocket science. I mean, we're talking, it's in the 21st century, but how you want your business to run is all a matter of the footprint and the fingerprint that you put on it.
Right.
You know, so it's just become a lost art from a training perspective because we take things for granted. We give people a computer and say, hey, look at this for an hour, right? Look at this, and this is the way that we teach. We teach with the technological resources that we had before that weren't available to us years ago. You know, we can take a position in the hotel, let's say, like the night audit, you know, a accountant person.
Mm-hmm.
And most accountants successfully may have started in the hotel industry because they actually had to add stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they actually had to add things, they actually had to balance things. And now all of a sudden they got this thing called the one button, right? You hit a button, it calculates everything behind the hotel environment, adds up all your food and beverage, adds up all your guest rooms, and it balances itself versus the training involved to take a human being and teach them that financial skill that they may have learned in this business that did not require you to have an abundance of experience, but they were willing to teach you as long as you had the personality to interact with customers, right?
Right.
And so I think the importance of 21st century training is a matter, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, right, is understanding that what you put into your people or into your business is what you will reap out of it. And please don't rely on technology only to endow your people with skills, because ultimately at the end of the day, most of the issues that people have with a business isn't necessarily related to technology, it's related to another person. So training is vastly important, particularly coming out of the pandemic. Training right now is so important coming out of the pandemic because people had sat home, people had forgotten, people dealt with more technology. So now all of a sudden it's incumbent for them to begin to embrace personal, or what I call soft and social skills again, which is something that we should be teaching at the second and third grade anyway. In order to have successful education models, we have to teach people to understand the importance of relationships and dealing with other people.
Wow. And you said a mouthful, and I think hopefully a lot of entrepreneurs can understand what you just said about coming out of the pandemic and how important customer service is, customer training is. Because I just truly believe that we've lost that art of that that intimate interaction that we get, physical interaction between human beings. Technology has moved us away from that, you know, unfortunately. And even like you talked about, even in the hospitality industry, I don't know how you can do that, you know, because rooms still got to be clean. You know, people now I get it. People can check in and out of the hotel on the screen or, you know, and stuff like that. But there's still a human element, I think, to that, especially if we have issues at the hotel.
Well, you know, aside from the hotel business, and maybe you have businesses that are financial institutions or selling novelties or selling clothing. It's the hospitableness that they deal with their clients that is what's going to make or break them. So that's why I said I just don't associate training and hospitableness to the hospitality or described tourism industry. And if I had any advice for entrepreneurs, is to figure out what leading from the front looks like, you know, treating your people as well as you want them to treat your customers, right? So is creating a different environment. And I think that's another thing coming out of the pandemic. People have had an opportunity to sit home and reflect on what is acceptable to them in terms of a work environment. So all of a sudden, having a environment that is conducive to how they want to be treated is important to people. People don't want to be treated as second class or secondhand citizens. They want to be as treated as well as you treat your customers. But the most successful businesses I have found, Dr. McKenzie, are those that don't focus on the bottom line, but let the top drive the bottom by ensuring that, for me to say for my business, we don't do good work, we do great work. We do great work. And that's the only level of work that's acceptable. And the relationship I have with my people is one in which, because business isn't a democracy. We know it's not a democracy. Business is not a democracy, but there are certain ways that you are able to engage people to get them to buy in. So it's partnerships. It's partnerships, even if they know and you know that you the boss. I don't have to wear a sign on my forehead all the time saying, hey, I'm the boss.
Oh, right.
I have a client, I'll tell this very quick story before I let you, before I give you back your conversation. I had a client that was, big client out in Howard County that was referred to me because they had some issues regarding departments out in the county. I'm not going to say the name of the business. And so other things were some things that I had an opportunity to consult with. And so the owner said to me, Mike, I had a bartender, man. The bartender took all my money, didn't even leave me 20 cents, because we know in certain positions, employees have the ability to really rob you blind, but when they have a certain loyalty and you share a certain piece of that business with them, and they realize that they're only taking from themselves. So that's the environment that I encourage entrepreneurs to set up, particularly those that have others that work with them, is to set up one in which they're empowered. And how do you train for empowerment? How do you train for empowerment? How do you train for ownership? How do you train for partnerships? People that are you're dependent on to drive your product and to drive your profitability. In addition to that, that's when you use the technology. Don't take no cash, man. Don't take no cash. You don't have to do that no more. But what I'm saying though is that people business is every business, and how we treat our people, expecting that that's how they treat our customer. It's something that we can't compromise on, and it starts with us. And I call it leadership by example, leadership out front. And that's what entrepreneurs have got to get. And those that get it and understand that the way they treat their employees, and that their employees will treat their guests the way that they treat them, man, they don't have to worry about money. All they have to worry about is sustainability and staying power, and ensuring that they manage from the back enough to hang in the game long enough till their name catches on, until someone says, hey, man, did you hear about Dr. McKenzie's? Yeah, oh, they're phenomenal. You call there, there's no problem. Their people are so friendly, and it may take a couple of years. Nothing happens overnight, but we have to have the ability to hang in there. And I'm talking 2 or 3 years minimally, unless you run into something that is just vastly needed. And then we have to have a consistency in terms of how people see and view our business.
Yeah, because I've always believed that that if you treat your employees the way you want to be treated, like you were saying, there's nothing that they won't do for you. They will run to the ends of the earth for you to make sure that what gets taken care of gets taken care of. And we as entrepreneurs, to me, have to really understand that our employees, they are our customers too. They are our internal customers. You have an internal customer and you have an external customer. If you take care of your internal customers, they'll take care of your external customers, which, like you said, will always positively impact your bottom line. And we should always be looking to empower our employees, so that they one, have the skill sets to be able to do what it is that we're asking them to do, and we should supply them with the tools. I used to get so upset being in management when the expectation was to do certain things, but then they didn't want to give you the tools that you needed in order to be able to do what it is that they were asking you to do. I'm like, how can you expect me to do something if you aren't equipping me with the things that I need in order to be able to do what you're asking me to do? So that's vitally important. And I love that how you say that. And I always say leader is an acronym, but the first E stands for empower. We have to be empowering. We should be empowering to those that we have that are working with us. But go ahead.
Absolutely, man. You're absolutely right. And not only are your employees representation of you, but they're also your walking billboard and marketing entity. They're also your recruitment entity
Yep.
for other people if they believe in your environment.
Yep.
So there's so much that you get out of investing in ensuring that you get the right hire. When an employee fails and you have to terminate, and I've had to terminate a number, I've had thousands of people work with me. It's your fault. Something's wrong with your process that you either didn't hire the right person or you didn't train them the proper way. Well, it all starts with the evaluation of the hiree. And then where do you go from there? If you believe you hired the right person and you've given them the right training, then where was the failure? So we have to constantly evaluate what our training apparatus looks like. And it's not only, so you're sole proprietor. So you're sole proprietor. What is your attitude and what does your quality look like for yourself? So it's a reflection. So it's important that we get in front of that mirror at times and practice what it is that we want to preach to someone else, but we're not quite there yet in terms of being able to have staff for other people. So how do you look when you represent your business? And sometimes it may take someone like Dr. McKenzie or someone else to give you a perspective or a critique of how your business looks, so that you ensure, if it's just you, or maybe it's you and your wife, or maybe it's just you and another partner, that it represents the quality that we all think that we want. But the word quality has different connotations and different meaning to different people. Quality to me may mean different to you.
Right.
And quality to someone else. And believe me, from the arenas that we come from, I run some of the finest hotels in the region and around the country. There was an expectation of what quality was like and how I carried myself. No run over shoes, no frayed collars, no dirty shirts. And that's the expectation I had of my staff. So for me to look at my staff, they know when I came, you have torn stockings, here's some money, you got to go get some other ones, clean nails, just the things that people look for in terms of the small little things. Are we looking in our businesses close enough at the small things, the quality things, and who is it that we entrust, if it's just us and maybe one other, to assist us in seeing from an outsider's perspective what our business looks like? That's important. It's important that others give us feedback and that we're receptive to feedback on what our business may look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your company, your business, and what you all do, and the products and services that you all offer?
Yeah, sure. So I've been fortunate, Dr. McKenzie. I started off with a company called Parkway Management and Consulting that's still in existence. And the mission of Parkway Management and Consulting was to work in the inside of the hotel and restaurant industry to do strategic planning. And we ultimately wanted to manage hotels, et cetera. And I bought a small hotel down on the southern shore of Maryland. And oh my, what the experiences. I tell you, I remember my executive assistant telling me, who came to work with me back in 2010, because it was tough, man. It was very tough. She says, well, hey, Mike, I didn't take a vow of poverty. It took a while for us to get started, before we make money, at the gas station, deciding which ATM card was going to work to get me some gas to get to the next place. And so I say that to say, coming from a job that paid me over $250,000 in the industry, well over, and then deciding to go out on my own was not easy, as I described to you what it is that I do. It wasn't overnight, which is what it is that I mentioned earlier. There's something in staying power. There's something in staying power, and there's something associated with ensuring that there's quality, even if you're not making money, with staying powers. No one wanted to see me show up with hole in my socks, even though they didn't know that I was not making any money. I remember when the Ivy Hotel, you're familiar with the Ivy Hotel?
No, it sounds vaguely
So
familiar.
the Ivy Hotel charges $600, $700 a night. It's
Okay.
a 20-room hotel owned by a guy named Eddie Brown, who's a multi-millionaire here in Baltimore, Maryland,
Yes.
right? The Ivy Hotel is one of the finest hotels in the world, right? And so I was trying to do business with them. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
now,
I know.
right?
I read the article, and him and his wife own the hotel. It's downtown. I think it's downtown.
It's downtown Baltimore.
Yes.
But it's quality as well as Eddie was quality, right?
Mhm.
And I was trying to, someone had recommended to Eddie that he speak with me about working with his hotel that he was about to open.
Okay.
Now, they didn't want to know I only had $10 on my bank card, you know, et cetera. We went to breakfast and lunch, and I paid for it. You know, but to your question about what I did, I tried to do initially, which was my passion, and that was to deliver services, customer service to people and understand the nature of the hotel industry, which prepared me to do financial services stuff. Because to be a hotelier, you had to understand finances, and I did very well. Matter of fact, in the 90s, the hotel business turned into kind of a Wall Street thing,
Mm-hmm.
and earnings per share became more important than, you know, customer service.
Yeah.
So I understood the financial aspects. I understood how to keep a large business clean, physically clean. And I also understood employee relations, because when you manage people, so Parkway was that, and Parkway is still in existence. We do a lot of strategic planning, a lot of market surveys for people. But then the city and the state, when they brought in gaming, knew that there were mandates that incorporated the people in the environments to get jobs. They asked me, because they knew of my work in schools and my desire to teach and train our young people, to start a training industry. So there started the Maryland Center for Hospitality Training, which is probably the largest workforce development trainer in the hotel or hospitality or tourism arena in this region. And so we work with various components, be it Goodwill, we've done work with Associated Black Charities, Department of Social Services, BCCC, CCBC. And what we do is take industry people and teach through these industry people ordinary citizens that may not necessarily understand the soft and social skill importance of jobs. So regardless of whether you're going to the hotel business or whether you're going to the banking business or the healthcare business, there's a soft and social skill component that we teach, to teach you how to have mannerisms and use body language, to teach you how to dress with success, how to interview appropriately. So we do quite a bit of that. We also do some corporate training as well. The biggest thing that came out of the pandemic was called diversity, equity, and inclusion training. I think the country's getting a bit tired of that, but we do that as well. We also have delved into crisis management training, so active shooter training. So there's companies that are concerned about natural disaster. It happened when the factories down in Kentucky were overtaken by a tornado, and inside, what do the people do? You know, how do they do it? So we look at a bunch of other sorts of training in organizations that prepare people not only for what we know from a customer service perspective, but what we need to prepare for in the event of a natural disaster and other things as well. And so we spun that into Global, which is an international company, and we opened up an office in Nairobi, Kenya last July, with the hopes of spreading the gospel relative to customer service training throughout the world. And we successfully got a relationship in Uganda as well as in Ethiopia. And the person that's over there running it for us is someone that came from Baltimore and now currently lives over there.
Oh, wow. Wow. I love that. I love that because, like you said, it training is more than just for the hospitality industry. I'm sure the skills that you equip those that are being trained with can be transferable. The soft, like you said, the social skills aspect of it, that's in any industry that I think, like you said, I think is sorely needed in this day and time.
Absolutely, Dr. McKenzie. If I could teach you, I learned from the best. I was given a protocol book this thick. I've met two presidents, stood side by side, entertained many, hosted. I can't begin to tell you the list of people or dignitaries that I've hosted. I've traveled
Okay.
widely. And so I'd like to say that I know how to conduct myself. Now, my mother will contest that sometimes as I get back to my Baltimore roots, but that's just the honesty of who I am. You know what I'm saying? No
Exactly.
false pretenses when they aren't necessary. Although I carry it and understand the importance of soft and social skills in various situations as well. But I am still a guy from Evanston Village in Baltimore. And, so my mother will say, I thought that you're like this big mannerism guy. What's wrong with you? But, it's all good. But I say that somewhat facetiously, but the better that we understand, if you give me a child in the second grade and let me have that child in the second grade and teach them what the importance of soft social skills are, emotional intelligence are. Give me 100 kids in that classroom, and I pretty much will guarantee you by the time they graduate in the 12th, they will be reading above the 12th grade level, and they will be ready for anything. Forget about the reading, writing, and arithmetic. We don't have a reading and writing and arithmetic in our society. We have an issue in our society with how we treat each other. And when we look at it, what has happened over the course of the past couple of years, it's indicative of that. Even at the highest level, how do we treat each other? Even from the White House, how do we treat each other? So if I tell a business that I'm working with, it's all about how you treat your people, and it's all about how you treat your customers, your bottom line success. How difficult is that? It's not rocket science. It's just a matter of what you know to be able to convey that. So if you have to hire me to convey customer service, that's an issue. That's an issue. If you have to hire me to convey customer service, maybe what you should do is come to me and we have conversation and figure it out. But you should be able to lead your people down the road of what you expect in terms of their service to others, reflecting your business.
Absolutely. What does customer service mean to you?
Customer service to me means is that I give and deliver to people what they expect, even when it's unreasonable. And when it's unreasonable, that there's a way that I go at explaining to them that unreason, and them coming back and saying, wow, I think we weren't reasonable in our demands and requests. It's all a matter of how I communicate, and deal with people. And as I mentioned to you, customer service is on a couple of perspectives for me. There's the employee, and then there's the external guest, but it's all about how I treat people. And I got to tell you, from a business perspective, I treat people really well. And I have been called a number of names in various environments. And then when I take the suit and tie off, I can be as from Evanston Village as anybody else out there. You know what I'm saying? And it isn't right. And I know better. But sometimes it feels good. But then that's the madness, man. That's the madness. That's why we're not perfect people, right? But customer service to me means, and to everyone means, that everyone that I see, treating them with the utmost respect as a human being and accommodating them as best as I possibly can with the resources that I have, be it someone pulling up to my car and asking for $1 or Martin Luther King. What is my service, my relationship with, because this is a customer to me at this point, and how do I convey the answer that I'm willing to give? The humility of handing them $1 or $5, or the grace of telling them I'm not able to do that. I think it's all about how we are gracefully able to convey what it is that we offer to people, that's customer service, you know, and the customer changes from time to time or during the course of a day for all of us. But if we look at each other as from that angle, we'll find that the world might be a better place and we're all just smiling, happy, you know, and just, you know, and it doesn't sound reasonable, but it's a dream that we all should try to obtain.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Now I want to add on to asking you the definition of customer service. Can you give entrepreneurs just three keys to delivering 5-star customer service? If you had to pick three, what would those your top three be?
Hey, I appreciate that question. So give our entrepreneurs, and I'm repeating your question for a reason, three things that I feel that are vital for them to deliver. First of all, you got to practice what you preach. You know, that's thing number one. You got to practice what you preach, you know, and then the second is to understand the definition of humility, you know, because it isn't always going to come out the way you want. Even when you're practicing great customer service at its finest, someone may proverbially, you know, spit in your face and call you a name. And so what is humility? You know, what is humility? And then thirdly, you know, just very simply, you know, we talk about treating others as we expect to be treated. No, forget that. That's important as well. That's important as well. But going out and looking for great customer service experiences and recognizing people. Because if we realize and recognize and look for great customer service experiences as an entrepreneur, it heightens our awareness of what the expectations are and should be for ourselves, right? So if I'm going out everywhere, I'm always looking for experiences. And then when I find it, I'm the guy that fills out the survey and tells you you did a fantastic job. I'll give you a final example. I was on the phone with Southwest Airlines because I think I mentioned I was going to Nebraska and to travel, you know, so tomorrow I'm leaving. So the customer service agent on the phone, Glory, and that was her name. I said, Gloria, Gloria. She said, Glory. I said, Glory, Glory, Glory. You know, and I dropped her defenses immediately. Yeah. She wanted to charge me $138 for the change. And I said, Glory, Glory. I said, is there anything we can do? I said, no. And so, oh my gosh, it was just phenomenal in terms of her relationship and responses, right? And at the end, and so there was a little pregnant pause of my ass because she's like, oh my, this guy's being so overwhelmingly nice because most people are just eating her alive for change, less than 12 hours. She did it. But what I said to her was how remarkable her tone and mannerisms were, because you could tell over the phone, and they were. And I also said to her that I hope I get a survey because I want to tell the world about Glory. Now, who doesn't like to feel good about feeling good about what someone has said to them? So look throughout your day as the third one for someone to make that you make feel good, right? And in return, you feel good because what's the best feeling in the world? And that's the feeling that we're looking for, is for someone to enjoy how we made them feel, man.
Yep.
You know, that's the beauty in that return. So those are three things that I suggest, you know, practice what you preach, humility, understanding the definition of humility, and thirdly, you know, looking daily for someone to make feel good because you're telling them how awesome they are.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that. I said, because people don't necessarily always remember a product or service that they get from you, but they will never forget the feeling that you made, how you made them feel, the feeling that you give to them about
worth $1
something.
million. Worth $1 million.
Yeah, yeah. It really is. I love those three. I love those three tips that you gave right there. So what's next for Mr. Michael Haynie? What's next for you, sir? What you got going? I know you got 18 different things going on, but what's next for you?
Hey, so this is the deal, man. I said earlier that I mentioned Parkway, I mentioned Maryland Center, I mentioned Global. And when the city came to me about Maryland Center, I said, well, I already have one business not making money, so why not two? And so as I say with this stature and this environment with you, that creating these businesses isn't about being rich. It's about leaving legacy and doing things that I feel may be of value to someone. And if I do them for the right reason, then maybe they will pay off, right? So global training or Staffing Solutions by Global is another entity that we opened up at the Maryland Tourism Conference in November of last year. Okay. It's a global platform that allows employers and employees for job matches. So that's from that perspective. But when you talk about what it is that is next for me, it's about continue to figure out how I can be helpful and contribute to a better world. And what does that look like? Well, of course, it always looks internally, which means family first. And that's tough. That's tough. You know, we all know that, you know, sometimes our most intriguing and biggest challenges are with those that are closest to us, but it doesn't mean that we find ourselves externally doing things that we won't necessarily do internally with our family. And so, you know, and just appreciate and celebrate life, man, and truly live like I don't have bad days. Some days are just better than others. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's next, man. It's just enjoying where I'm at, appreciating the fact that Dr. McKenzie had I had the honor to serve on and to be on your show, and that you ask me to be on your show, and feel good that people feel as though I have something to contribute that may be of value, man. And just staying grateful, man. Just staying grateful. And if I can't help someone, stay out of their way, man. You know?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Now, how can people connect with you if they want you to come speak, one, but then how can they connect with your company if they want to have the training that you offer?
Okay, so the easiest way is info@marylandhospitalitytraining.com. 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 That's the easiest way. Versus me sitting here impressing myself, giving you 8 different email addresses
I know, right?
different phone numbers. Let me just give you info@marylandhospitalitytraining.com, and let me go in the mirror and practice my ego of saying, but no, really, info@marylandhospitalitytraining.com to, get to me or to take you to any of our services. And if you Google Maryland Center for Hospitality Training, it should come up. Same thing with Staffing Solutions by Global. But I would just start with info@marylandhospitalitytraining.com and say, hey, this guy sounds real good, and we want to call him on it. And we work with small businesses because even though you may be a bank or a healthcare services, normally what we find out is that the issues are people related and relationship related that causes a clog in businesses. And, it isn't always about money or charging people. I just love when people say, hey, we need help. And so, hey, give me a shot. See if that's real.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Any parting words that you want to leave with our listening audience or viewing audience for, for training, entrepreneurship and customer service?
Dr. McKenzie, I didn't hear that one.
No, I was saying, is any closing words that you want to leave with our audience in regards to entrepreneurship, customer service, and training?
All I want to say, Dr. McKenzie, is that you made me feel good today. You made me feel good because you asked me to be here. And that, as I said earlier, we can just figure out a way daily to make each other feel good, and particularly if you're an entrepreneur, I'm waking up each day with the idea that I'm going to make every customer leave me feeling good. I almost want them in tears, and then let them go spread the gospel of my business and come back based on the feeling that I gave them. Even if I made a mistake, they're going to come back because I had that humility with me and admitted, the nature of my wrong, and that's all we can do, man. None of us are perfect. And so that's the only advice I have. And thank you so much for asking me to be here tonight.
And thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes and coming. The knowledge, the information, resources that you poured into the viewing audience here, brand new, is just it warms me. So thank you for sharing your expertise, your knowledge, because I don't take that for granted. Because you didn't have to do it, folks. That my dad taught me long a time ago. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody's going to give you anything. And it's up to you to be appreciative of it and to be thankful for it and to thank them for it, man. So I say thank you for being here with me. Thank you for what you do in our community, for our community, and in our community, all of those things, in making us better. You make us better. You make our businesses better. You make our entrepreneurship better. And anyone who has listened to me for any small period of time knows that my assignment every year is to make people better by the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year. And I can only do that by having people such as yourself that come in and pour into people, because I always say this. Sometimes I always liken it to the picture in the, I call it the picture in the glass theory. When you go to a restaurant and you have a table of glasses and they bring a pitcher out, sometimes with a pitcher where we pour into people, we pour into those glasses that are there. And then sometimes with the glass that we get poured into, and we sit back and we learn and we understand what it is that we need to do and how we can do it to make ourselves better, to make each other better. So I really appreciate it. And I think you might know the young lady, I believe it is Miss Michelle Haynie, that's on with us here.
I have no idea. I just say absolutely. And that's my wonderful, wonderful sister. And it's so wonderful to have people support you, right? And she knows me and she still supports me. So that's love, you know?
Exactly.
And that's what you look for from family. In spite of the fact they know you, they still love you. But she is absolutely it. She supports me, and you know, you can't help but love the fact that that's what you call unconditional. Yeah, and that's what absolutely. It is, unconditional.
Absolutely. And she said this has been a good broadcast. It's very interesting and informational. Thank you. So I say thank you as well, Brother Haynie. And like I said, I appreciate you and I admire you for the things that you've done and all the accomplishments that you do. You set the standard for who we as Black men can aspire to be when we, you know, as we get older and move along in our professional careers and hopefully in our personal careers too. So thank you. I say thank you.
Well, thank you so much again for having me here. I really mean it, Dr. McKenzie. Anytime I can do something with or for you, let me know, please.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been another episode, you all, of the brand new development series brought to you by the Black Professional Men and J&F Enterprises, LLC. But it is our mission to ensure the future of the African-American male. That's what we do when we pour into not just the personal community, but also our business community. We ensure the future of the African-American male by also making sure that we set the example as professional Black men in industries, no matter what industry it is, that we set the standard, we set the example, so that the next generation sees what it is to be a Black professional man. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in. We will see y'all next month for our next brand new development series episode. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. You can actually go to also our BPM website to see about Black professional men, as well as jnfenterprises.com to be able to see who we are as a company, JNF Enterprises, and what we offer. And one more time, your contact information, Mr. Haynie.
Mike Haynie, info@marylandhospitalitytraining.com, info@marylandhospitalitytraining.com. Have a great week. Thank you so much, Dr. McKenzie.
Absolutely. We thank y'all for tuning in. As I say, it's building season, y'all. It's 2022. It's building season. Let's go.
Thank you.